Life here is lived in the great open. It is a life laid bare under an unforgiving sun that dictates the strict rhythm of the day, and under a canopy of stars that command the absolute silence of the night. This is a place where self-reliance is not merely a virtue, it is deeply woven into the very fabric of daily survival. Yet paradoxically, it is exactly here, in the heart of isolation, where the bonds of family and community become the ultimate, priceless currency. It is a land caught between the pull of ancient cultures and the relentless march of modern aspirations. A place where traditions hundreds of years old are practiced with deep reverence, seamlessly coexisting alongside the conveniences of the 21st century. To truly understand life in Namibia is to understand the profound, intimate relationship between the people and the immense, quiet space they inhabit. It is to discover how the deafening emptiness of the desert fosters a unique, unspoken strength, and how the great, punishing distances between towns only serve to draw human hearts closer together. This is not a story about isolation. This is a story about a different kind of connection, one forged in the crucible of one of the world's last, great, untamed wildernesses. This is the story of Namibia. Communities here are small, tight-knit, and fiercely self-reliant. They are bound by a shared, silent understanding of the brutal challenges and the exquisite rewards of living in such an unforgiving environment. Neighbours depend on one another, not merely for pleasant social interaction, but for practical, often urgent support. In a place where the next glimmer of civilization might be 100 kilometers of punishing, corrugated gravel road away, you do not pass a stranded vehicle. A breakdown, a medical emergency, or the sudden, violent arrival of a dust storm, these are communal events. They are met with an unspoken, deeply ingrained sense of collective responsibility. Anonymity is a rare and useless commodity here. People know each other. They know their families, their intertwined histories, and the complex stories of the land they walk upon. Social life, therefore, unfolds gracefully on the stoep, the shaded, wrap-around veranda that fronts almost every farmhouse and town dwelling. It is a sacred place, a place for a slow cup of coffee, a quiet, meaningful conversation, and a long, contemplative gaze out at the unchanging, eternal horizon. In a country defined by such vast, separating distances, tradition is the heavy iron anchor that grants people their identity. It is the invisible, sacred map that guides them, connecting them across time to their ancestors, to the bleeding earth, and to each other. Namibia is a rich, kaleidoscopic mosaic of cultures, each carrying a distinct and deeply cherished heritage. In the remote, rugged, and intensely arid northwest, the formidable Kunene region, live the Himba people, a proud, semi-nomadic pastoralist society who have guarded and maintained their traditional way of life for centuries. They exist largely untouched by the frenetic pressures of the modern, digitized world. Their entire universe orbits around their cattle. To the Himba, cattle are not merely a source of food, they are a vital measure of wealth, a currency of respect, and a sacred, living link to the spirits of their ancestors. The physical layout of their homestead is deliberately organized around the holy fire, the Okuruwo. This fire is the soul of the family. It must never be allowed to die out, for its smoke carries their prayers to the enduring presence of their ancestral spirits. Yet, the most striking, globally recognized symbol of Himba identity is the Otjize. This rich, earthy paste of butterfat and powdered red ochre stone is meticulously applied by the women to their skin and intricate hairstyles each dawn. Make no mistake, this is not merely cosmetic, it is a deeply cultural, intensely symbolic practice. It is the ultimate symbol of beauty, a vibrant sign of life and robust health, and a profound physical connection to the rich, red earth that sustains their very existence. Their elaborate hairstyles are not random. They are a complex visual language silently telling the story of a woman's journey through the stages of life, from youth to marriage and motherhood. Elsewhere in Namibia, the magnificent, colourful dress of the Herero women tells a profoundly different, yet equally powerful story. It is a saga of cultural identity, unimaginable trauma, and triumphant historical resilience. Their voluminous, floor-length Victorian-style gowns, tailored from dozens of meters of vibrant fabric, catch the wind like sails. But it is their distinctive, horn-shaped headdresses, the ujikiva, that stand as the ultimate, powerful symbol of cultural pride. This spectacular style was originally adapted from the wives of German missionaries in the dark, turbulent era of the 19th century, a period marked by immense trauma, conflict, and near annihilation for the Herero people. In the long aftermath of tragedy, the Herero women did something extraordinary. They reclaimed and radically transformed this oppressive European dress into a proud, defiant statement of their own identity. The horn-shaped headdress was ingeniously designed to honor the cattle that remained so central to their pastoral culture. Today, it is worn with immense grace and unshakable dignity at ceremonies, weddings, funerals, and in everyday life. It is not a costume. It is a living, vibrant link to their painful history and a triumphant testament to their unyielding, unbreakable spirit. This immense cultural richness echoes across every corner of the nation. In the central regions, the Damara people, among Namibia's oldest inhabitants, communicate in a unique, mesmerizing click language, their rich history and complex folklore passed down safely through generations of vivid oral storytelling. Venture to the far northeast, into the surprisingly lush riverine environment of the Kavango and Zambezi regions, and the landscape transforms. Here, local communities boast a rich, thriving heritage of masterful wood carving, intricate basketry, and rhythmic music. Their lives are intimately, permanently connected to the great, life-giving rivers that flow through their fertile lands. And in the golden sands of the Kalahari, the San people, widely considered the original ancient inhabitants of southern Africa, carry with them an unparalleled legacy of art and encyclopedic environmental knowledge. Their ancient rock paintings, hidden in caves across the country, stand as a silent, breathtaking testament to a history stretching back millennia. For Namibians, cultural identity is not a dusty relic of the past, confined to glass boxes in a museum. It is a living, breathing, pulsing part of the present moment. It is the ultimate source of strength, pride, and grounding continuity in a rapidly modernizing nation. For generations, the unbending backbone of the Namibian economy and the very soul of its rural culture has been farming. In a land entirely defined by its ruthless aridity, farming here is not just an occupation. It is a daily act of desperate faith and a meticulous, exhaustive science of patience. Cattle are so much more than a mere commodity. They are the ultimate measure of wealth, a highly visible symbol of status, and a deep-seated, inescapable part of the national identity. Ranching in this extreme environment is a constant, exhausting negotiation with the elements. Farmers must manage impossibly vast tracts of land just to provide enough sparse grazing for their herds. They remain constantly, anxiously mindful of the scarce, violently unpredictable rainfall and the fragile, painfully slow-growing vegetation. To survive here, a farmer must be a geologist, a botanist, and a meteorologist combined. They must read the subtle language of the land and the shifting moods of the sky to make critical decisions that will dictate their survival. It is a grueling life of calculated risk, of immense, bone-wearying hard work, and a profound, unsentimental respect for the power of the environment. But turn towards the cold, nutrient-rich expanse of the Atlantic coast, and a completely different economy thrives, one governed not by rain, but by the relentless rhythms of the ocean. The industrial hub of Walvis Bay, with its massive modern port, and the historic, diamond-dusted town of Lüderitz are the nerve centers of a robust, globally significant fishing industry. Their deep harbors are a hive of activity, busy with heavy trawlers that venture bravely into the treacherous, rich waters of the Benguela Current. They return heavy with vast, shimmering catches of hake, monkfish, and prized rock lobster, much of it immediately destined for the demanding high-end markets of Europe and Asia. This massive, churning industry is a lifeline, providing thousands of vital jobs, from the hardened crews battling the swells on the boats to the thousands of workers in the highly sophisticated onshore processing plants. Increasingly, however, the economic future of Namibia is being shaped by a different, infinitely more sustainable resource, the breathtaking landscape itself. Tourism has become a vital, rapidly growing sector, a fundamental cornerstone of the modern Namibian economy. People from every corner of the globe are magnetically drawn to Namibia's pristine, untouched wilderness. They come for its unique, miraculously desert-adapted wildlife, its staggering geological wonders, and its profound, healing sense of peace and absolute solitude. This global influx has created new, diverse, and empowering opportunities, from small, vibrant, community-run guest houses and local craft markets to highly skilled, respected jobs as expert safari guides, trackers, and dedicated conservationists. Through highly innovative models like community conservancies, rural Namibians are no longer bystanders. They are becoming the primary custodians, the protectors, and the direct financial beneficiaries of their own natural heritage. It offers a powerful path to build a sustainable, prosperous future by doing nothing more than preserving and sharing the extraordinary wild beauty that surrounds them. To truly know Namibia, you must sit at its table. Namibian food is a direct, honest reflection of the unforgiving land and its complex, interwoven history. It is delightfully simple, exceptionally hearty, entirely unpretentious, and deeply, inherently sociable. The undisputed culinary heart of the nation, the sacred ritual that unites Namibians of all backgrounds, races, and classes, is the braai. Do not call it a barbecue. It is far more than that. It is a cherished social institution, the very cornerstone of community and family life. Come the weekend or any special occasion, the distinct, intoxicating scent of wood smoke fills the air across the entire country. Friends and family gather instinctively around the fire. They share tall tales and quiet conversation as the meat, often exceptionally high-quality beef or lamb from local free-range farms, or lean wild game like springbok, kudu, or oryx, is cooked agonizingly slowly and with immense care over the glowing coals. It is an event that refuses to be rushed. It can last for hours, a glorious celebration of togetherness, rich food, and the profound, simple pleasure of a shared human experience. The foundation of the daily diet for many Namibians, particularly in the densely populated northern regions, is a thick, filling maize porridge, known locally as pap. It is a brilliant, versatile staple, often cooked so dense it can be easily eaten with the hands, served alongside a savoury, simmering stew of meat or wild vegetables known as a relish. In rural villages, these meals are cooked communally over an open fire, acting as the beating heart of the homestead. The smoke of that fire is a familiar, deeply comforting scent that drifts on the cool evening air. And for those embarking on the long, endless journeys across the country, survival relies on biltong, air-dried, perfectly spiced strips of meat, and droewers, a savoury dried sausage. These are not just snacks, they are a proud culinary tradition inherited from the country's South African influence, perfectly designed for life on the move. To live in Namibia is to live in the constant, humbling and overwhelming presence of an ancient, unimaginably powerful nature. The landscape here is never a passive backdrop. It is an active, dominant, sometimes terrifying force in daily life. Consider the Namib Desert. Stretching for an agonizing 2,000 kilometers along the Atlantic coast, it is widely believed to be the oldest desert in the world, a place of surreal, breathtaking, alien beauty that has been carved and shaped by millions of years of climatic extremes. Here, at Sossusvlei, rise some of the highest, most majestic sand dunes on the planet. They are sculpted by the invisible hands of the wind into flowing, sensual forms that are constantly in motion yet feel as eternal as the earth itself. Their colours shift dramatically with the light, from the soft, pale apricot of dawn to a deep, fiery, aggressive orange in the late afternoon. It is a masterclass of light and shadow on a colossal, theatrical scale. Move further north, and the dream turns into a haunting nightmare of beauty. The Skeleton Coast, a wild, desolate, and terrifyingly isolating stretch of shoreline where the freezing Benguela current from the Antarctic violently collides with the hot, bone-dry air of the desert. The result is a near-permanent, thick, blinding fog that rolls in from the sea like a ghost, blanketing the coast in a cool, damp, mysterious shroud. It is a famously treacherous coastline, a notorious graveyard for lost ships and dying whales, littered with the rotting, rusting skeletons of wrecked vessels and the bleached, colossal bones of marine giants. It stands as a stark, beautiful, and terrifying reminder of nature's unforgiving, absolute power. Yet, miraculously, this ghostly fog is also the bringer of life, providing the essential, life-saving moisture for a completely unique, highly evolved ecosystem of desert-adapted plants and strange, resilient insects. Travel inland and the Earth undergoes another dramatic, violent transformation. Welcome to the vast, flat, shimmering, blinding expanse of the Etosha region, centered on a massive salt pan so incomprehensibly large it can easily be seen from the cold void of space. For much of the year, it is nothing but a shimmering empty plain of violently cracked white clay, its mirages dancing mockingly in the intense heat. But in those rare, blessed years of good rain, it performs a miracle, transforming into a shallow, temporary inland sea, attracting vast, pink clouds of breeding flamingos. The permanent waterholes that desperately dot its edges are the ultimate lifeline for an incredible, dense diversity of wildlife. massive herds of uniquely desert-adapted elephants, endangered and aggressive black rhinos, stealthy leopards, and seemingly endless herds of springbok, zebra, and wildebeest. For Namibians, this is not a distant, heavily curated, exotic safari destination. It is the world just outside their front door, a constant, awe-inspiring presence in their lives. And if you journey to the deep south, the very crust of the earth suddenly, violently falls away into the abyss, the Fish River Canyon, the second largest canyon in the world. A colossal, jagged chasm carved relentlessly over hundreds of millions of years by the flow of water. Its scale is so massive, so profound, it is almost entirely impossible for the fragile human mind to truly comprehend. The staggering, unfathomable distances of Namibia heavily define the highly practical realities of its modern existence. The country is stitched together by an impressive network of long, meticulously maintained gravel roads that stretch for hundreds of empty kilometers through seemingly vacant landscapes. Here, driving is not considered a chore. It is a fundamental, inescapable part of life, and long, grueling journeys are entirely routine. The immense isolation between towns acts as a crucible, forging a culture of absolute preparedness and profound self-reliance. If you live here, you learn to change a heavy, blown tire in the blistering, unforgiving sun. You learn to carry extra fuel, surplus water, and spare parts. And you learn to deeply appreciate the simple, friendly wave from the driver of a passing vehicle after hours of crushing, lonely solitude. The bakkie, the sturdy, unkillable pickup truck, is the unofficial, beloved national vehicle. It is a tireless workhorse capable of handling the punishing, corrugated roads, heavily laden with everything from crucial farm supplies and steel-building materials to entire, joyful families on their way to a distant wedding. Yet, this overwhelming sense of quiet, spacious, rural life stands in stark, almost jarring contrast to the capital city, Windhoek. Nestled safely in a protective valley in the country's central highlands, Windhoek is the beating, political, economic, and cultural heart of the nation. It is a surprisingly clean, highly modern and vibrant cosmopolitan city. Here, gleaming shopping malls, imposing government buildings, and bustling, chaotic markets create a potent, vibrant, urban energy. It is perhaps the only place in the massive country where one can actually experience the frustration of traffic jams and the cold, anonymous bustle of modern city life. Yet even here, surrounded by concrete and glass, the sense of vast space is never truly lost. From almost any vantage point in the city, you can look up and see the surrounding ancient peaks of the Awas and Eros mountains, a constant, reassuring, massive reminder of the vast, untamed wilderness that waits patiently just beyond the city limits. And in a brilliant, surprising twist of modernity, even in some of the most remote, deeply isolated regions of the country, the reach of mobile networks is remarkably extensive. It acts as a thin, invisible, magic thread of connectivity that firmly links isolated farmsteads, remote luxury lodges, and tiny, forgotten villages directly to the pulsing, wider world, brilliantly bridging the immense, daunting physical distances with modern digital technology. For the ambitious, energetic young people of Namibia, life is a careful, delicate, and often highly complex balancing act. They are caught suspended between the heavy gravity of the old world and the magnetic pull of the new, between the deep, sacred roots of tradition and the shiny, limitless promise of the future. Education is universally seen as the golden key to unlocking that future. The government has invested heavily building a public school system that heroically stretches across the vast, empty expanse of the country. In the deepest, remote rural areas, young children may walk for several miles every single day just to attend a small, modest village school, often learning together in crowded, multi-grade classrooms. For many, merely continuing to secondary school means the painful process of leaving the safety of home to live in a crowded boarding school in a larger, distant town. It is a common, heavily formative experience that forcefully fosters independence, gritty resilience, and a much broader worldview from a startlingly young age. The dreams and ambitions of these young Namibians are as vast and boundless as the empty landscapes they grew up running across. They passionately aspire to be brilliant doctors, innovative engineers, pioneering geologists, dedicated conservationists, and wealthy entrepreneurs. They are highly digitally connected, perfectly fluent in global pop culture, constantly scrolling through the endless stream of the internet and global social media. Yet, remarkably, they remain deeply, unshakably rooted in their own local, tribal traditions and their complex family histories. They effortlessly navigate a complex world where they might speak their ancient indigenous language at home around the fire with their grandparents, use Afrikaans to joke with their friends on the street, and study complex sciences in English, the official language of the state. They face the greatest, most daunting challenge of their generation: to somehow forge a successful, wealthy future that respectfully honors their unique, ancient heritage while aggressively embracing the lucrative opportunities of a modern, rapidly globalized world. It is a delicate, stressful, and ongoing negotiation to find a way to build a highly prosperous, innovative future for their nation without losing the unique, colorful cultural identity, the strong, unbreakable community bonds, and the profound, spiritual connection to the land that makes them exactly who they are. The true rhythm of daily life in Namibia is not dictated by the clock on the wall. It is dictated entirely by the tyrannical sun. The heat of the day, especially in the deep interior during the punishing summer months, is intense. It is powerful, heavy, and physically draining. By noon, human activity slows to an absolute, grinding crawl. People desperately seek the cool, dark refuge of deep shade. A sense of profound, heavy quiet and absolute stillness descends upon the baked towns and the dusty farms. It is a sacred time for indoor work, for necessary rest, for a siesta, and for immense patience. It is a collective, entirely unspoken agreement among the population to simply wait out the sun and pray for the cool relief of the evening. But as that sun finally begins its slow, bloody descent towards the horizon, the entire country violently comes back to life. The air cools rapidly, and the harsh light softens, painting the scarred landscape in breathtaking, hallucinatory hues of liquid gold, fiery orange, and deep, bruised purple. This is the social hour, the golden time. People emerge from their dark homes like shadows. They water their dusty gardens, they visit their lonely neighbors, they play with their screaming children in the dirt streets. It is the time for the evening meal, for the sacred braai, for ancient stories shared in hushed tones around a crackling, hypnotic fire. And then, as absolute darkness falls, another, even more magnificent world reveals itself. Away from the few scattered lights of the tiny towns, the Namibian night sky is a spectacle of overwhelming, paralyzing beauty. With absolutely no humidity to blur the atmosphere, and absolutely no light pollution to wash out the cosmos, the stars are astonishingly, aggressively bright and clear. It is a brilliant, dense, heavy canopy of light that feels so close, so intimately low, you feel you could reach up and touch the burning gas. The Milky Way spills across the black canvas like a raging river of diamonds, standing in the profound, deep, terrifying silence of the desert night, under a sky overflowing with countless, unnamed stars. One feels a deep, physically humbling sense of connection to the vast universe. It is the profound, spiritual feeling of being both infinitesimally, meaninglessly small, and yet intrinsically, beautifully part of something vast, ancient, and eternal. But make no mistake, life in this breathtakingly beautiful, yet deeply demanding land is absolutely not without its significant, painful, and persistent challenges. The most fundamental of these, the terrifying question that underpins all life and politics here, is water. Namibia holds the grim title of being the driest country in sub-Saharan Africa. It is a nation built on ephemeral, ghost rivers that may flow violently for only a few days a year, triggered by rare, highly localized thunderstorms before vanishing back into the sand. Here, drought is not an occasional surprising disaster. It is a constant, recurring, and expected feature of the climate. It is a dark shadow that threatens the survival of farmers, the massive wildlife populations, and the rapidly growing, thirsty urban centers alike. Managing this incredibly scarce, precious resource through an expensive, complex network of dams, long pipelines, and the careful, heavily monitored extraction of underground aquifers is the single greatest, most existentially terrifying challenge for the nation's long-term survival. Furthermore, the vastness of the country, its greatest, most celebrated asset, also creates its own massive logistical nightmares. Providing essential, basic human services like decent healthcare and quality education to tiny, widely scattered, deeply isolated communities is a constant, exhausting financial and logistical battle. While the national economy has grown steadily since the hard-fought battles of independence, significant, painful economic gaps still brutally exist, often a dark, lingering reflection of the deep, systemic inequalities inherited from the country's painful colonial and apartheid past. And as global tourism becomes ever more vital to survival, the country faces the highly complex, delicate task of balancing lucrative economic benefits with the desperate need to protect its incredibly fragile ancient ecosystems from destructive overuse. It is a tightrope walk, one that Namibians are thoughtfully, carefully navigating through strict policies that fiercely promote sustainable, low-impact, luxury tourism and community-based conservation, ensuring that local, indigenous people are the primary custodians and the primary financial beneficiaries of their own natural wealth. There is also the terrifying, ever-present challenge of human-wildlife conflict. Farmers living on the hard edges of massive national parks must constantly, anxiously find ways to coexist with apex predators and massive, destructive game that know no borders. It is a daily, sometimes fatal reminder of the heavily blurred, dangerous lines between fragile human settlement and the raw, untamed wild. So, why do people choose to stay? In a modern world of seemingly limitless, easy options, in a fast-paced age of total global mobility, why do they remain so fiercely, stubbornly rooted in this small, remote, and often deeply challenging place? The answers are as beautifully varied as the individuals themselves, but they all invariably circle back to the exact same core, fundamental themes. Themes born directly from the red dirt of the land itself. They stay for the freedom. Not a vague political concept, but a tangible, physical, breathing reality. The freedom that comes only with immense, unbroken, open space. The freedom from choking crowds, from concrete congestion. The freedom to live a life of quiet, unapologetic, unencumbered independence. They stay for the profound, unshakable, healing sense of peace that comes from living in a world of deep, absolute silence and stillness. A heavy, golden quiet that allows for a deeper, more meaningful connection to oneself and to the vast, natural world. In a modern, globalized society, absolutely saturated with deafening noise and endless, cheap distraction, Namibia offers a rare, priceless, and endangered silence. They stay for the deep, unbreakable, blood-level connection to their roots, to a culture and a fiercely guarded heritage that gives them a powerful, defining sense of belonging and solid identity in a world that is rapidly becoming a blurry, homogeneous mass. They stay for the community, for the strong, ironclad, dependable bonds of family and deep friendship that are forged only in the fires of hardship. In a place where people truly, desperately rely on one another, where a neighbour's survival and well-being is intrinsically, permanently linked to your own. And above all, they stay for the land itself. For a Namibian, the sweeping landscape is not just a place where they live. It is an integral, inseparable part of their soul. It is flowing in their blood. It is burned into their spirit. It is the absolute source of their gritty resilience, their endless patience, their quiet strength, and their unique, long-range perspective on the fleeting nature of the world. It is the profound, grounding feeling of having roots that run as deep and as ancient as the very geology beneath their calloused feet. Namibia exists in a permanent state of beautiful, stark, uncompromising simplicity. It is an ancient land that brutally teaches patience, violently enforces humility, and nurtures a deep, beautiful appreciation for the absolute essentials of life: water, family, community, and the quiet, unstoppable passage of time. It is a place where the noisy modern world, with its high-speed digital connectivity and global commerce, somehow peacefully coexists with ancient, whispered traditions and ways of life that have endured against all odds for centuries. Here, the rhythm of life is still governed by the rising sun and the shifting seasons, not by the ticking clock. Here, a life well lived is measured not in the accumulation of noise and haste, but in the steady, quiet, eternal pulse of the natural world. It stands as a living, breathing, magnificent testament to the incredible human ability to find not just a house, but a true home. To find a sense of profound, unshakable and enduring belonging in a vast, silent land of impossible distances and